Pues no sé si se han dado cuenta que los cuchillos filosos y amenazantes que guindan del techo, en la libreta, en la publicación Papeles de Cocina y por aquí y por allá, hay una misma frase que ha venido apareciendo por allí, que es volver a cocinar. Y ese ha sido el desenlace que nos ha estado esperando desde que comenzamos Diálogos de Cocina. Porque hemos redefinido juntos la gastronomía, nos hemos preguntado de qué va la gastronomía hoy en día, nos hemos preguntado también qué significa hoy cocinar la cocina, quiénes son cocineros, quiénes no, qué ingredientes le echamos a la receta de la cocina que vivimos y que hacemos y que somos, ¿no? Y ese desenlace al que queríamos llegar juntos con ustedes tiene que ver con que no hay otra revolución pendiente o una mejor revolución pendiente, y vaya que la palabra la revolución, bueno, quizás no es la más indicada, pero sí la gran transformación que nos espera es volver a cocinar, volver a ser capaces de darnos de comer por nosotros mismos, ser capaces de alimentarnos de nuestra propia mano. Y tampoco es casual que para hablar de esto traigamos a una persona que viene de, bueno, está ahora en Italia, pero ella es brasileña y no se formó en cocina como hubiera de esperarse de alguien que hablara de volver a cocinar, quizás, ¿no? No es un chef de Filipina con años trabajando en un restaurante, pero sí es una persona que cocina la cocina, que es activista, educadora, que le tiene una fe enorme a la gastronomía y es muy consciente en la complejidad de un país como Brasil de la fuerza transformadora que tiene la gastronomía. Y lo sabe porque la usa como fuerza de cambio constantemente y porque en sus programas de televisión, en los distintos espacios que ella ha venido abriendo como activista, insiste en la importancia de una alimentación saludable y lo importante que es, pues, ser capaces de cocinarnos por nosotros mismos la alimentación que merecemos. Un gran lujo tener aquí con nosotros a Bela Gil.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. I want to thank Sasha and Andoni for the invitation. Today I'm going to speak a little bit about my journey in the kitchen and how I believe that through cooking we can change the world. How and why. But I'm going to start from the real beginning. 15 years ago, I started to practice yoga, and with that practice, I got a lot of body and mind awareness, and I started to see food in a very different way. I started to see food as a way to prevent, treat, and cure diseases. So my relationship with food changed. I gave up eating meat. I cut down my intake of sugar, refined sugar, and industrialized food. So after that, I was like, oh my God, food is really magical. Like, I just felt better, and I needed to understand more about this relationship between food and the body and the mind. So a few years later, I went to New York. At that time, I was 15 years old. I went with my boyfriend at the time, now my husband. Yeah, it took him about 10 years to propose me, but I never gave up, and he did. Now we have 2 kids, and he's there. So, after a few weeks in New York, I was already conscious about my eating and everything, so I felt desperate for a meal, like a real meal. Like, I wanted to eat rice and beans, something to fulfill my body, my soul, but I didn't know how to cook, so I called my mom. And I called my mom and I asked her, Mom, can you help me make beans, like, through the phone? And she said, I think it's better for you to call your grandma, because I don't know how to make beans. And I called my grandma. So just a parenthesis here, I think, well, my grandma, she used to cook for my mom while she was growing up, but my mom never cooked for me. And I believe that I'm a kid born in the generation that kids were not so welcome in the kitchen. I remember a few times I went to the kitchen was to see my grandma cooking her amazing Italian dishes that she learned with her mother-in-law. And that was about it. So coming back to the beans, I followed my grandma's instructions and I made it. I cooked it, and it was one of the most important meals I had in my life because it changed everything. After that, I was like, oh my God, I can cook, I can feed myself, I can feel responsible for what I'm putting into my body. And I wanted to do that. I wanted to make my own meals. I wanted to become my own doctor, my own pharmacist. You know, I was seeing food as a means to really prevent diseases, and that was my first relationship with food. But then I understood the importance of cooking, and because I wanted to know more about that in depth, I went to a culinary school in New York, and later I graduated as a nutritionist. I got a bachelor's in nutrition and food science, and now I'm doing a master's at the Slow Food University, which is amazing. You had the opportunity to listen to Carlo Petrini, and he's one of my real masters and guides in this goal and passion that I have to change the world through food. So I believe that one of the biggest side effects of the industrialization, and especially the industrialization of the food system, is the divorce between human and nature. Most people from urbanized areas, they don't feel that they are part of nature. They feel more apart from nature. And that has a big consequence, because people don't know where the food is coming from, who's growing them, how it's being grown, and this has an impact in their health and also in the environment. So I really believe that through cooking we can reconnect ourselves with nature. And if you cook, you go shopping most of the time, usually. And so when you go shopping, many questions arise in your mind. At least for me, I started to question myself. There were so many options, and I was like, should I buy organic or should I buy local? Or should I buy this really cheap, low cost food that has actually a high cost on the environment, and it's very cheap because of the cheap labor it is made from, and in big expenses on the environment. But I was like, should I buy this or should I invest in a good quality, high quality ingredient? Should I join a CSA? What about fair trade? And these questions were popping up in my mind. And I understood with this that food and cooking were much more than just putting food in our plate. And I realized that, as Michael Pollan says, that cooking is a political act. Food is a very powerful tool to make changes. And I believe that food is a nutritional, environmental, cultural, social, economical tool to change the world. And cooking and food is a political act. But I also realized that food, it's only a political act if you have the opportunity to choose what you're gonna eat. And most people around the world, they don't have that opportunity. We talk a lot about cooking and how cooking can better your health, how cooking can make you feel better, but we don't really realize that we need three things to cook. that we, as privileged people here, we take it for granted. But to cook, we need knowledge, information, but also we need access. We need economical access, financial access to the food, and we also need physical access to the food. If you have a family, if you're a parent and you want to feed well your kids, you want to buy fresh fruits and vegetables, but you live in a food desert, how are you going to make it? How are you going to do it? If you sometimes you have it available for you, but you don't have the money to buy it. Or you have the money and the access to the food, but you don't have the knowledge on how to cook. So we need these three things to cook and to really use food as this powerful tool that can really change the world. So with all that questions in mind, I went back to Brazil. And I started to do, I was invited to host a cooking show. But I mean, I love cooking shows, but I also believe that everybody that watches a cooking show really cooked, we would be much, much better off. But I mean, I just didn't want to do another cooking show. And so I wanted to talk a lot about these different issues related to food. I wanted to talk about this powerful tool of change that food can be. And in the show, I go to, instead of like the food just coming to me, I go and I meet the producers, I harvest the food with them, I invite them to cook with me in the show, and we cook, we taste the food, so people understand that, you know, a carrot takes time to grow and everything. Someone harvested it, and maybe this person can value more the food she or he is eating. And also, I wanted to show Brazilians, the Brazilian audience, that we, as a country in Brazil, we have a lot of biodiversity, and I wanted to cook with more native ingredients. A lot of seeds from the Amazon, for example, I use, and because I believe that talking about biodiversity is very important. It is. But also we need to eat biodiversity, because if we just talk, I mean, maybe we won't do a lot of changes. So I love cooking with those ingredients. And lastly, now that was like my last season, I was cooking with a lot of different parts of ingredients that usually people throw out because they don't know what to do with them, like banana peels and watermelon peels, papaya seeds, and many, many other examples that I mean, I'm not gonna go into depth with that. I could just stay here and talk about those amazing recipes that we can do with these things. Okay, I'll just give an example of the papaya seed. Because like I put in the oven with how many? 60 degrees Celsius, very low, for an hour, and becomes like really, really dry. And you put in, you know, the thing to make to crack pepper, black pepper, and that's it. It becomes like black pepper, but less spicy, a little bitter, but just amazing. And okay, that was one example. So let's face a real problem here. Why people stop eating? You can say it's like lack of opportunity, lack of money, lack of will, lack of ability. But I think that all leads to more convenience. It is more convenient in these days, today, not to cook. It's easier not to cook for so many people. The industrialization of the food system led people to cook less at home, right? In developing countries now, there was 2 years ago, a New York Times article was saying how the junk food industry hooked Brazil, in how those corporations actually hooked Brazil on junk food. Because if you go to Brazil now, you see, like if you go to remote places, there's like really almost nothing urbanized. You see a retailer, I think, from Nestle or from another big corporation knocking on their doors and selling cookies and you know, just highly processed foods. And people like it because it's cheap, it's practical, and also sometimes it's a way to show status. So people are really changing the way they are eating, and we know what this can lead to. Today we have an epidemic of malnutrition. Malnutrition, when I say malnutrition, I mean obesity and also hunger, because both of them are forms of malnutrition. And in, each year, for example, we spend $600 million worldwide to cover the cost of obesity. And no, I mean, today we have 600 million people obese, and we have 800 million people hunger with not that don't have food every day to eat. And this combined cost to the world $3.5 trillion per year. And so, I mean, that's what we are facing now. This is, for me, the best example that shows how our food system is totally collapsed. Like, we have to change. There's no way we can have so many people going hungry and so many people just overfed with crap. That doesn't, I mean, it's not possible. But how cooking can solve that? Cooking, I believe, allows us to control our diet and control our health. If you don't cook, you're putting the control of your health in the hands of corporations that really don't care about your health, right? And so just by cooking, you can change your life. But we have to remember that not everybody can cook, right? Because they don't have the opportunity to. So I'm gonna say just an example of sometimes why not cooking. It's very convenient, and why sometimes it's just so delicious that people want to give up cooking at home and eating outside. Well, let's see. When we cook potato, like a French fries, for example, at home, how many ingredients do we need? How many? 3, right? Yeah. Well, usually 3. You need potato, you need oil, and you need salt, right? That's what we put in our potato fries at home, usually. But if you go to a fast food chain, how many ingredients do they put in a potato fry? 18, usually. And one of them, it's like dextrose syrup. So the potato chips, it's like golden brown and crispy. But like, who is like totally sane that's gonna put sugar in a potato fry at home? We're not doing that. So like the big corporations, they really don't care about your health. They just want to sell more. They want to hook you from your palate, because that mixture of like salt, fat, and sugar in different proportions and some magical powders really hook you on these things. Sometimes, you know, it's not really your fault. And and also people, sometimes I believe knowledge is very important because some people say, "Oh, I don't want to cook. I don't eat fried food anymore. Like fried food, it's very hard to make it at home. Like the kitchen becomes super smelly, and it's just too much work. I don't like. And it's not so healthy. So I don't eat fried food. And usually these people, when they are like really tired at work, they go to the vending machine. What do they buy? Potato chips. But they don't see how it was made. They don't know, they were supposed to know, but they're not seeing it. When you cook, you really understand what you're doing. You really understand how much oil you're putting in your food, how much salt you're putting in your food. That's something we cooks, we take it for granted, but people sometimes, they really don't know. And there's a saying that I like to say that it really works with cooking, that what the eyes don't see, the heart cannot feel. And that's really true, because, there are many examples I can give with that too. But, so how we can revert this? How we can make people come back to the kitchen and cook? I think that food education is the answer, right? Because if we grow up with our hands in the soil, if we grow up nearby the stove, nearby the garden, these activities, they just become second nature when you're older. That's why, like, a kid, when they learn a second language, they can speak that second language really easy when they grow up. It's like instinct, like it's just second nature. It's like learning how to ride a bike. Also, it's very easy when you get older. The same thing works for cooking and for gardening. And I believe we should teach our kids to navigate this world, navigate the kitchen, because it's gonna make them understand that these activities, these tasks, they are easy. And so I can say that because I was one of these people. Like, I see a lot of teenagers or young adults living their home, they don't know how to cook. That happened to me. And when you don't know something, you usually reject it. You say, no, I don't want to do it. I don't know how to do it. I think it's very difficult, and you just find excuses not to doing it, because it's much easier to get home from work really tired and call a pizza, a delivery pizza or something like that, or pop frozen lasagna to the microwave. But if you know how to cook, you can do that really easy. Like in 15 minutes, you can prepare a meal. And that only happens when you know, when you have the practice, and when you feel that it's not a big deal to cook. But that's not the case when you don't know something. And I also believe that many parents, because I believe food education should be taught at home, but also in school. But like many parents, they feel that the kitchen is a dangerous place. They don't want to put their kids in there because, there is boiling water, there is like cutting knives and fire. It's just like a dangerous place. But if you understand that the world is a dangerous place as well, why not teach our kids to navigate the kitchen under our control in our home, so they can be a better citizen and navigate the dangerous world outside as well. That's something that can change this culture of like, no, kids are not welcome in the kitchen. And I also believe that the food education should be taught in school also, because we have so many different kinds of arts in school. Like, we have music, we have drawing, painting, many other things, drama. But the fundamental kind of art, which for me is cooking and gardening as well. But, cooking is my passion, so cooking, it's not taught in school. And this is something that we have to change, because the academical system doesn't, I mean, it's not so profitable for you to know how to cook or to take better care of your health. Those are when you don't know how to cook, you really become dependent on the food industry. And if you, like, for a while continue to just depend on the food system, you become sick sooner or later. And you depend on the pharmaceutical industry as well. Those are the two major industries in our world today. And the corporations, these industries, they want to feed us with, like, they want to put, poison in our food, like pesticides, so we become sick, and they can also come with the medicine to treat us. So that's like a snowing ball. For them, it's really profitable. Being healthy, it's not profitable for anybody except for us as individual and as a society. But, I mean, that's not how it works. And so education for me, it's not only saying, please and thank you, or knowing how to, how can I say, to do math equation. For me, cooking, and for me, education is making choices that affect the least, the others, and the environment. And so cooking is an act, it's love in action. It's an act of love. And I chose that art, the art of cooking, to change the world. Many people choose another kinds of art, like music, and I mean, they're all beautiful. I chose cooking. I see it as an art, and cooking is my poetry. And I think it can be yours too. And that's it.